Listen, I want you to picture something real, not a hypothetical. A real American retiree on a quiet Tuesday morning in April 2026. You, or someone just like you. Richard Miller, 71 years old, retired high school history teacher, Sun City, Arizona. It's 8:14 a.m. The coffee is still warm. The newspaper is folded open on the kitchen table. The Arizona sun is beginning to spill across the backyard patio where Richard and his wife have shared breakfast for nearly 20 years. On the refrigerator hangs a faded photograph. His grandson, 8 years old, baseball uniform, missing 2 front teeth. Richard looks at that photo every morning, every single morning. Richard did everything right. He worked for 43 years. He paid his taxes. He stayed out of trouble. He carried full insurance. He built a retirement fund instead of chasing risky schemes. In other words, Richard did exactly what the system told him to do. And yet, 3 weeks earlier, something happened that left him sitting awake at 2 o'clock in the morning, wondering whether he had accidentally put himself in legal jeopardy. Not because he committed a crime, not because he broke the law, because of a traffic stop, a simple traffic stop, the kind millions of Americans experience every year. Richard was driving home from a doctor's appointment. Nothing unusual, no speeding, no reckless driving, no confrontation. Then flashing lights appeared in his mirror. A few minutes later, an officer walked up to the vehicle and delivered a sentence that sounded routine. "Sir, step out of the car." That's it. 6 words. 6 ordinary words. Richard complied. The stop ended. Life moved on, or so he thought. Then, while watching the evening news weeks later, he learned about a court ruling that completely changed how he viewed that encounter. A ruling most retirees never heard about. A ruling that affects what officers can ask, what citizens can do, and what happens next after those 6 simple words are spoken. Richard's hands tightened around the armrest, because suddenly he realized something. Nobody had ever explained the rules. Not in school, not during driver's education, not during retirement seminars, not anywhere. The people most likely to encounter law enforcement during routine traffic stops are often the least informed about what their rights and responsibilities actually are. And when confusion enters the picture, mistakes follow. Costly mistakes, stressful mistakes, sometimes life-changing mistakes. Now watch what happens next, because this is the part that should make every retiree pay attention. Because this isn't really about a traffic stop. It's about knowing the rules before you're standing on the side of the road trying to make decisions under pressure. This is what I call the step-out rule blind spot. And today we're going to expose exactly why so many Americans over 65 have never been told the full story. But before we go 1 inch further, I need you to do something. Smash the like button right now. I am not asking, I am telling. Because in 2026, important legal and financial education for retirees gets buried under endless entertainment, celebrity drama, and political noise. Most people will never hear about the rules that could affect them during an ordinary encounter with law enforcement. Your like helps push this information into the feeds of seniors who need it before they find themselves in that situation. Hit it now. And while you're at it, subscribe. Flip the bell to all notifications. Join the archive. Because what I am about to show you is rarely explained in plain English. Your insurance company isn't explaining it. Your retirement planner isn't discussing it. And the evening news usually gives you 30 seconds of headlines and moves on. We're going deeper. Now, the attorneys would want me to remind you of something important. This video is educational. It is not legal advice. It is not financial advice. Every situation is different. Laws can vary depending on the facts involved, your state, and future court decisions. If you need legal guidance, consult a licensed attorney in your state who can evaluate your specific circumstances. My goal today is simple: to help you understand the rules, to help you ask better questions, and to help you avoid making decisions based on myths, assumptions, or internet rumors. Because assumptions can become expensive, and confusion can become dangerous. Here is what you're going to understand before this video ends. First, why so many retirees misunderstand what officers can legally require during a traffic stop. Second, the court decisions that shape these rules and why they still matter today. Third, the practical steps you can take to stay calm, informed, and legally protected if you ever hear those words: step out of the vehicle. Most Americans think they know what happens next. Most are wrong. And what we're about to uncover should make every retiree pay closer attention. Let's go to work. Now let's get to the part almost nobody explains correctly. The biggest misconception isn't about what happens after you step out of the vehicle. It's what people believe before that moment ever arrives. Most retirees believe they have two choices: argue or comply. But that is an oversimplification, and oversimplifications create problems. The truth is that traffic stop law has evolved through decades of court decisions, legal interpretations, and constitutional balancing tests. The average American never studies any of it. Why would they? They're busy raising families, building careers, paying mortgages, and planning retirement. Then one day they're standing on the side of a road expected to make decisions under pressure. That is where confusion begins. Look at the dirty legal trick they use. Most people think a traffic stop is simply a conversation. Legally, it is much more than that. A traffic stop is considered a temporary detention under constitutional law. That means certain freedoms are limited for a short period while the stop is taking place. Courts have spent decades defining exactly where those limits begin and end, and those boundaries continue to evolve. The result? Millions of Americans operate under assumptions that may not match reality. After studying court opinions, legal commentary, and constitutional cases spanning decades, one pattern is unmistakable. People often know they have rights. They simply don't know when those rights apply, and that distinction changes everything. Let me give you an example. Imagine Robert, age 68, retired electrician, Tampa, Florida. Robert is pulled over for a broken taillight. The officer approaches the vehicle. The conversation begins normally. Then comes the instruction. "Sir, please step out of the vehicle." Robert immediately assumes one of two things. Either he has done something terribly wrong, or he has complete discretion to refuse. Neither assumption is necessarily accurate, and that's where many retirees get themselves into unnecessary trouble. The law is often more nuanced than television makes it appear, more nuanced than social media claims, more nuanced than most people realize. This should make you absolutely furious, because nobody teaches this. Not when you're getting your driver's license, not when you're approaching retirement, not when you're attending financial seminars. Yet understanding these rules can dramatically reduce stress during a real encounter. And here is the part that should really get your attention. Many retirees carry decades-old beliefs about police encounters. Beliefs formed in the 1970s, the 1980s, the 1990s. The legal landscape has changed since then. Court rulings have clarified certain powers, clarified certain limitations, and clarified procedures that many Americans still misunderstand today. The result is a dangerous information gap, not because seniors are uninformed, because the rules themselves are rarely discussed. And when a person relies on outdated assumptions, confusion can escalate a situation that otherwise would have ended peacefully. This should make you absolutely furious. Not at officers, not at courts, at the fact that ordinary Americans are expected to understand rules that nobody ever explains. Now watch what happens next, because understanding the rule is only the beginning. The bigger question is, how did we get here? Who shaped these standards? And why do traffic stop experiences look dramatically different depending on where you live and how the law is interpreted? That's where the real story begins, Dot. Who created this framework? Who decided what officers can do during routine traffic stops? The answer isn't one person, and it isn't one agency. It's decades of court decisions. Federal courts, state courts, appeals courts, and ultimately, the Supreme Court. Over time, judges have attempted to balance two competing interests: public safety and individual liberty. Those goals sometimes pull in opposite directions, which is why traffic stop law has evolved case by case, decision by decision, year after year. The system is designed to balance competing interests that don't always fit together neatly, and that balancing act affects every driver on the road, including retirees. 3 states, 3 completely different realities. Take California. Officers operate within a legal environment shaped by state-level protections and court interpretations that sometimes differ from other parts of the country. Now look at Texas. Many encounters occur under a different legal culture and enforcement environment. Then examine Florida. A completely different combination of statutes, case law, and law enforcement practices influences what drivers experience. Same country, different realities. Same constitutional framework, different day-to-day experiences. That alone should get your attention, because many retirees assume the rules are identical everywhere. They aren't. Understanding your state's legal environment matters. Tell me in the comments right now, what state are you watching from? And have you ever experienced a traffic stop that left you uncertain about your rights or responsibilities? I read every comment, and your experience may help another retiree avoid confusion in the future. Now pause this video, send it to a spouse, a sibling, a neighbor, someone over 65 who still drives regularly. Not tomorrow, today. One conversation today could spare someone years of misunderstanding later. Because knowledge shared before a stressful situation is always more valuable than knowledge discovered during one. And trust me, we're not finished. Because knowing the history isn't enough. You also need a practical playbook. What should retirees actually do? How can you stay calm? How can you avoid unnecessary mistakes? And how can you navigate these encounters confidently without relying on myths? Let's get to the strategy. Save this video right now. This is your survival manual. Because if you ever find yourself on the side of the road wondering what to do next, preparation beats panic every single time. Now let's get to the strategy, the actual playbook. Strategy number 1, stay calm before you stay correct. Most mistakes happen because emotions take control. Heart rate rises, stress rises, thinking becomes harder. The calmer you remain, the better your decision-making becomes. Think of it like turbulence on an airplane. The safest passengers aren't the loudest. They're the ones who stay seated, stay calm, and follow the process until conditions stabilize. Traffic stops often work the same way. Strategy number 2, separate facts from assumptions. Many retirees rely on information they heard decades ago, from a neighbor, a friend, a television show, or a social media video. Instead, focus on facts. Listen carefully. Ask respectful questions when appropriate. Avoid assuming you know exactly what is happening before you have all the information. That single habit can prevent countless misunderstandings. Strategy number 3, know your state's rules. Legal procedures can vary. Court interpretations can vary. Practical realities can vary. A retiree in Arizona may encounter a different legal environment than a retiree in New York or Florida. Spending one afternoon learning the basics in your state can provide more confidence than years of guessing. After studying legal resources and court developments across multiple jurisdictions, one pattern is unmistakable. Prepared retirees are almost always less stressed during unexpected encounters than unprepared retirees. Not because they know everything, because they know enough. And sometimes enough is exactly what matters. The goal isn't confrontation. The goal isn't fear. The goal is confidence. Confidence built on understanding. Confidence built on preparation. Confidence built on facts rather than assumptions. Because when that unexpected moment arrives, preparation becomes your greatest advantage. And in retirement, peace of mind may be one of the most valuable assets you own. Let me show you 2 retirees. Same state, same age, same type of traffic stop. Same situation, 2 completely different outcomes. Watch what happens. Richard, type A, no preparation, no understanding of the rules, no idea what the courts have actually said. Richard is 71 years old, retired teacher, driving home after a routine doctor's appointment. An officer initiates a traffic stop. Everything seems normal. Then comes the instruction. Sir, please step out of the vehicle. Immediately, Richard's mind starts racing. He remembers something a friend told him 20 years ago. He remembers a television show. He remembers a social media video he watched 6 months earlier. Unfortunately, all 3 sources contradict each other. His stress level rises. His heart rate jumps. He starts arguing, not because he's trying to be difficult, because he's confused. The encounter becomes longer, more stressful, more uncomfortable. Everyone involved becomes frustrated. By the time Richard gets home, he's angry. The officer is frustrated. And Richard still doesn't know what the actual rules were. The entire situation became harder than it needed to be. Now let's look at Richard, type B, the insurgent plan. Same age, same vehicle, same road, same officer, same traffic stop. But this Richard spent 30 minutes learning the basics before the situation ever occurred. He understands that staying calm protects him. He understands that assumptions create mistakes. He understands that knowing the law and understanding the process are 2 different things. When the officer approaches, Richard remains respectful. When instructions are given, he doesn't panic. When questions arise, he responds calmly. No arguments, no emotional escalation, no guessing, no relying on outdated information. The stop concludes. Richard drives home. Stress level minimal, confusion minimal, risk minimal. The difference? Preparation. Not luck, preparation. One retiree entered the encounter carrying assumptions. The other entered carrying knowledge. Same person, same stop, different mindset. That is the entire game. And here's why this matters so much. Most retirees spend years preparing for retirement. They prepare investment plans, they prepare estate plans, they prepare healthcare plans. But very few prepare for ordinary legal situations they may encounter during retirement. Yet those situations happen every day. Traffic stops, official interactions, unexpected questions, moments where understanding the rules can make all the difference. The goal is not to become a legal expert. The goal is to avoid becoming unnecessarily vulnerable because of misinformation. Because confidence comes from preparation, and preparation almost always happens before the moment arrives, not during it. Which brings us to the most important part of today's discussion. What should you do tonight to make sure you're better prepared than the average retiree? Let's build that action plan right now. Here is what you are going to do tonight. Not next week, not after your next doctor's appointment, not after the holidays. Tonight. Because the retirees who stay informed are usually the retirees who stay confident when unexpected situations arise. Step 1. Review what you actually know about traffic stops. Not what you heard from a neighbor, not what somebody posted online, not what a television drama taught you 20 years ago. Write down what you believe your rights and responsibilities are during a routine traffic stop. You might be surprised how many assumptions are hiding in that list. Step 2. Spend 30 minutes researching official information from reliable sources. Look at your state's driver handbook. Review public information from your state government. Read educational material from reputable legal organizations. Focus on facts, not opinions, facts. Step 3. Have a conversation with your spouse, adult children, or a trusted friend. Ask them what they believe happens when an officer asks someone to exit a vehicle. Compare answers. Most families discover very quickly that everyone has a different understanding of the rules. That alone is a valuable lesson. Step 4. Create a simple emergency information card for your vehicle. Include emergency contacts, medical information if necessary, and any information that could be useful during an unexpected roadside interaction. Preparation creates peace of mind. The average retiree spends more time researching a television purchase than learning about situations they may actually encounter on the road. Don't be average, be prepared. Because confusion thrives in the absence of information. Confidence grows when information is available before you need it. And here's something else. The legal landscape changes. Court decisions evolve. State laws evolve. Procedures evolve. The people who stay informed adapt. The people who rely on decades-old assumptions often get left behind. Tell me in the comments, which step are you starting first, and what state are you watching from? I read every comment. The archive grows stronger every time retirees share information with one another. And before we wrap up, I have one final message for every retiree watching today. Because what we've discussed isn't really about traffic stops. It's about something much bigger. It's about being informed before life puts you in a position where information matters most. You can be the retiree who discovers important information after the fact, or you can be the retiree who prepares before the moment arrives. The choice is yours. Look, this video was never really about a traffic stop. It was never really about flashing lights in a rearview mirror. It was never even about one court ruling. It's about something much bigger. It's about refusing to navigate retirement on assumptions. Because assumptions are expensive, sometimes financially, sometimes legally, sometimes emotionally. The retirees who thrive in retirement are usually not the smartest. They're not the wealthiest. They're not the luckiest. They're the most prepared. They understand that knowledge is a form of protection, and protection starts long before you need it. If today's discussion taught you something new, smash that like button one more time on your way out. Help break through the noise and get this information in front of more retirees who need it. Because there are millions of Americans over 65 who still believe things that simply aren't true. And misinformation becomes dangerous when people rely on it during stressful situations. Subscribe, flip the bell to all notifications, join the archive. Because this channel exists for one reason, to help retirees understand the rules that affect their lives before those rules affect them personally. And in our next video, we're going to uncover another little-known legal issue that catches thousands of retirees off guard every year, and what you can do to stay one step ahead. You won't want to miss that one. Until then, stay informed, stay prepared, and most importantly, stay calm when everyone else is reacting emotionally. Because confidence comes from understanding. And understanding is what keeps you ahead of the crowd. I am the retirement insurgent. This was the archive. The trap was built for the retiree who does not know it exists. Now you know. Act accordingly.